Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the orientation session for our wonderful telecourse called Understanding Movies, the American Cinema. What we'll do tonight is to kind of give an overview of what this class is all about, so let's just jump into it. And first of all, what you want to know is, who am I? And my name is Lucanio. And you'll find me in building 17. That's the Forum building, room 208. My office hours are always Tuesday mornings, 9:30 to 10:30. And if you can't make that time, we'll find a time that's convenient for both of us. And what we have here, you see, is the email. I have two email addresses for you to get in touch with me, and I'll explain why I've got all of that email for you here as we continue. Something about myself, I have spent my professional career teaching film studies. I've written a few books. My specialty has been, as you can see there, the science fiction film of the 1950s. I even appeared in a documentary as a talking head called Monsters from the Id, which is still out there somewhere, I think. I'm sure it was very successful. I've also, my latest work have been, I've written essays for two books on science fiction theater, the name of a TV program in the 1950s, and I wrote an essay for that book on the Ziv television company. And also I wrote about junior spacemen in a book that came out a few years ago called 1950s Rocket Man TV series and their fans. So that kind of gives you an idea of what my research has been lately. I also edit a newsletter for an organization dedicated to old-time radio programs. It is called Radiogram. And I put this newsletter out every month, a 16-page kind of like a magazine, in which we discuss the old-time radio programs. And with that, locally, I do a lot of the lecturing before the programs for Radio Redux, the wonderful company that recreates old-time radio shows just as they were done in the 40s and the 50s at the Halt Center. So if you ever want to see what it was like with old-time radio, check the Register Guard, check other media sources, and find out what our next program will be. All right, moving on. As a matter of fact, our next program will be what you see right there, the Maltese Falcon. Okay, moving on. Now, it is important that you do not call me if you need to get in touch with me. The reason for that is I'm only on campus one day a week. And what happens is you'll call at some time and I won't get it until a week later or whatever. And I will try to call you at that time and I'll miss you. And of course, in this modern age, you know, it's all email, it's texting, it's that sort of thing. So that's why I gave you the two email addresses. So if you really need to get in touch with me, it is always best to send an email to one or both of those email addresses. I check those every day throughout the day, so I'll be sure to get back to you as quickly as I can. So the best way to contact me is email, so, you know, just avoid the telephone. Okay, so I just want to emphasize that as well by saying you will use email, you will use email, you will use email. You'll hear that in your sleep tonight so that wherever you are tomorrow, you will be hearing email. Yes, if I need to get in touch with him, I will email him. Now, a word about the textbook. Yes, there is a textbook to go with this class. And it is called, as you see there, American Cinema, American Culture, written by John Belton, who is a good film scholar, and the book is a very good film. The book was written to go with the film series that you will be watching, the video series that come out each week. Okay, this book was written to accompany that. Now, the one thing I want to emphasize, and I'm trying to help you out here, is that you do not need the most recent edition of the book. There's no reason for that. Any edition of the book will do just fine. Even better said is the first edition of the book will do you very good because it was associated with the film series. So really the only difference among all of those various editions of the book is Belton discusses more contemporary modern films as he goes along, because our film series is about 15 years old. But what he does is he kind of applies what is said, okay, in the film series to newer films. So that's really the only difference. The concepts, the whole ideas behind understanding movies, they don't change. That remains the same. It's just applied to different films. So that's really the only difference. So if you can find the first edition, you know, for 50 cents or whatever, buy it. The 80 edition will do fine with it. Now, in the syllabus, I have put the chapter titles to accompany each of our weekly sessions, and those are according to the 4th edition of the book. What you'll have to do is kind of look at it and say, okay, I see, they're discussing the Hollywood star. Okay, so the book you have might have a little different title, and it might be a different chapter number, but it's dealing with the Hollywood star. You get the idea how that would work. It's the same information, it's just the book was designed a little differently. Okay, so that's how the book works. So what is this course then? Okay, American Cinema. Understanding Movies, the American Cinema, is an introductory course that brings Hollywood filmmaking into clear focus as, first, an art form. That's a given. It's a college course, so immediately we default to that with the idea that what we have here is an art form, yes. It is also an economic force. Now, what I always tell people in every film class I've ever had is that you have to accept this reality, that Hollywood, from its very beginnings in the late 1800s up until today, even today, that Hollywood, it is a business first. They don't give a rip about art. They'll tell you that they do, but what they're after more than anything else is the almighty buck. And they make lots and lots of almighty bucks in today's day and age. Okay, so you have to accept that fact first, that when you look at any motion picture, for the most part, now that's looking at commercial type films, when you look at those things, the reason they were made is to make a dollar. That's the bottom line. Now, let's go back to the art form. Does that negate anything about art? No. The reason that the film may have been made was to make money, but there were artistic people. There were people with great talent, great creativity that could produce these films, and we look at them as such and say, okay, sure, you're going to make money off of it, but look at this. This is a beautiful work of art. And you can look at a film like Citizen Kane and you go, my gosh, what a beautiful work of art. You can look at a film like John Ford's The Searchers, and you look at it and you say, yeah, it may be just a Western, but this is some Western. It resonates with all kinds of things that we can talk about. We talk about the beauty of it. We talk about how it's structured. We talk about all of those kinds of things the same way that we would be talking about a work of art, that is, you know, a painting by Chagall or anything like that. We look at that and we go, wow, this work has something to say, and it says it this way, and it gives us pleasure. So yes, it is an art form. So we go back to our little slide here that says it's an art form and it's an economic force, and our video series will also discuss it as a system of representation and communication. In other words, it's communicating things about us as well as representing who and what we are. In today's Hollywood, that might not be exactly true in the sense that it represents our values and all of that sort of thing. Because if there ever was a global kind of communication here, it's pretty much Hollywood. Hollywood long ago abandoned the idea of being American cinema to be a global thing, and often films are made to appeal worldwide. But that's a different topic. That would be a different class to talk about that. But as a method of communication, it's there. It is using things that we understand. Certain things like what we'll talk about later in our video series, we'll talk about it. But it's using these aspects of motion picture making that communicates ideas to us. So that all of us that go into a theater, we can sit, we look at that film, and it is telling us something. It is communicating to us, and not just to me individually, but it would be communicating with everybody in the theater. And we are beginning to understand, or having a process here in which it is saying, this is what I am about, and this is how I, accept it. So anyway, that's what we mean by that. Moving on, the American cinema probes the deeper meanings of American movies through the hidden message of genres. That's their term. And they say the value of genres, the kinds of messages that are found within those genres that they like to say are hidden. It also gives us the social and psychological effects of style. That is, what about the style of this film? The way it is made, how does that affect us psychologically? How does that affect us socially? And we move on to the mutual influence of society and popular culture. The whole idea that it's a symbiotic relationship in the sense that we influence what goes into the films influence our attitudes and how we see the world. The old famous story, the T-shirts or undershirts of men. The sale of undershirts completely collapsed in 1935 after the movie. It happened one night when Clark Gable took his shirt off and he wasn't wearing an undershirt. It's that kind of thing. We've heard these stories, lots of these stories about all it takes is for a Hollywood star to do something in a film, and it affects all of us in a social setting here in our world. Okay, moving on. The way it works is this way. Each week, a 60-minute lesson will be broadcast on the cable system, channel 23. And each program will be broadcast 5 times during the week, and the schedule is in your syllabus, which is available online on Moodle. And also, the best thing about this particular course here is that all of the video series are available at the Annenberg site. There you see the address right there. That address is also in your syllabus. And you can view the entire series at any time on the internet by going to that address. But of course you do need the Windows Media Player and all that kind of technical stuff that goes with it, which most people have. But you can watch it at any time, so that's a good thing right there. You can watch them all at once if you want, or you can just follow the same schedule as the cable system, or do whatever you want. But they are available, and pretty much they're available when you want them. Okay. What happens in this course is that I will see you again for a midterm review, and you can see the date right there on your screen. But that's the next time I talk to you, because everything that you need about this course is being handled through 2 things. One, the video series that you will be watching, and in many respects, think of that as the lecture for the course, and the supplemental reading that goes with each of those videos. So that's essentially all the information you need. You're gathering from the videos and from the book. But I will talk to you again, because what will happen is towards the middle of the term for our midterm, I will be here again. We will be on television again. And what I will do is just review what we have been talking about, the video series, the book, and so forth, to give you an idea of what you should have for the midterm. And then, of course, after that, we just simply move to the midterm. Now, what I do is that I have all midterms are available in the testing center, And it's very important that you check the availability of their hours. Go to their website, make sure that when you go there, they will be open and that you have plenty of time to take the exam. But as you can see on the dates that you have right there, that the midterm exam is for 1 week only. So I do allow you to find some time, that 1 week period, to get in there to take the exam. So it's not as if everybody's going to take the exam on Thursday or whatever. No, it's not going to work that way. What it works with is pretty much, it works from a Thursday to a Thursday. So sometime within that week, within those days, you can get into the testing lab, testing center, and take the exam. And then throughout the course, again, what happens is I'll give you a final review. I'll be, same thing, just like I'm doing now. We'll be in this room. I'll be in this room. And I'll be talking to you and give you an idea of what you need to know for the final exam. And the final exam, just as the midterm exam, will run for 1 week only. Okay, so again, that's essentially how this course works. So what is it that you really need to do? Well, I just more or less mentioned it. You need to watch the video programs. Again, if you think of it in terms of the lecture for the course, that's how it works. And I think you'll really enjoy these. These are not lectures as such. If you just think of them as saying, I have to watch these videos to get information, but these videos are fantastic documentaries about the history of Hollywood. So you're going to enjoy watching these things. So you need to watch the video programs. Again, you can do it at your leisure by the Annenberg site, by going online, watching them online. And then the second thing is you read appropriate sections of the text, which are outlined, they're giving you the chapters and so forth that accompany each of the videos that you find in the syllabus. If you're not an intelligent person that is so skilled that they remember absolutely everything they see and hear, you should take some notes. Take some notes, all of the things that you need to know about the history of Hollywood. And then what do? The course requirements are simply, you've got the Moodle check-in, which is first, which has been extended because of the bad weather this particular term. But you have to check that for sure what it is, because I'll be checking it, because you have to do that little exercise at the very beginning to make sure that you are the person who is in this course. And then all you do is you take 2 exams. There's a midterm exam and a final exam, and that's it. That's the course requirement right there. You just got to do 2 things, really. 2 things that are associated primarily with getting the grade, and that is taking a midterm exam and taking a final exam. And both of the exams are, as you see there in that illustration, both of them are multiple choice exams. Okay, and each exam will have 50 questions, again, multiple choice, and all of the exams are held in the Instructional Testing Services, that's in the Center Building, 311, and you do need photo ID and your L number in order to take that. Always check to verify their hours, because you don't want to go in there when they're going to close in 5 minutes, because you're not going to be able to take the exam. And that's also what you need to do is turn off all cell phones and all electronics and place them in backpacks or check them with the staff. And all belongings, including backpacks, hats, and coats, will be placed inside provided cubicles. That's their rules. Follow their rules and everything works. Okay, I do offer this. When you go in to take the exam, you can have with you a 3x5 card for reference. Books are not allowed in the testing center, but you may use one 3x5 card to take the exam. So all the stuff you know, you don't have to worry about writing it down. But things that are a little iffy, things you're not sure about, put them on the card, take it with you. And you are responsible for your exam, so make sure to get in there and take it when you can. All right, moving on. On Moodle, at the exam time, will also be available for you to download a study guide. So really, between the study guide and between what I say during the review session, you should probably have a real good shot at passing the test with no trouble whatever. Also, I do offer extra credit, just in case. You have two options. You can write a paper on production elements of a single sequence of any film produced before 1970. Yes, I sort of force you to look at something you otherwise wouldn't look at. Or, if so inclined, produce your own narrative or documentary production. Now, these things are explained in detail in the syllabus. So check the syllabus for the details on that. And that deluxe syllabus is available on Moodle for downloading. I also included it as an attachment to the big email I sent to everybody yesterday. So anyway, get a copy of that syllabus, read it carefully. It will tell you everything you need to know to pass the course, all of the assignments, all of those kinds of things. Okay, so I just said that. Make sure and read that syllabus and read the fine print. Okay, if you're confused, bewildered, rattled, depressed, and desperate like I am, stop by during office hours or send me an email, and what we'll try to do is work it out so everything makes sense to you. So the program schedule is this. Okay, the first thing you're going to look at is called the classic Hollywood style. And classic here does not mean just old. It is a way that the films were made. So that's a crucial aspect of that. Then we move into the studio system. That idea, the studio system, pretty much makes the Hollywood cinema, the American cinema right there in the very beginning. The studio system, the movie factories that hired not just actors and technicians to produce films, but actually did such things as market research and all the things that a business would do to find out if films would work. In the early days, actually, many of the moguls, the people who ran the studios, they actually said, make this kind of movie, because I think people will like it. They didn't actually run out and see if they would. They just said, I think people would like this. Kind of an interesting, which is different from what they do today. Okay, then we move to the star, that very interesting thing that occurred really early on in the history of film, especially the silent era, when we begin to, or audiences at least, they begin to like certain people that they see. They want to see more movies that feature these certain people, and they begin to take on labels like a Mary Pickford, who became America's sweetheart, Lon Chaney, who is known as the man of 1,000 faces, these kind of actors. And so they began to have a lot of clout. That is, people are coming to see movies to see me. And they had that clout with the studio bosses. And so anyway, you get the development of the star. And if there ever was an archetypal movie star, it is, of course, John Wayne. Then we move into the genre, and the first genre that they discuss is the one that really makes the American cinema. It is loved worldwide, and that is the Western. Then it moves into the romantic comedy, which includes what is known as the screwball comedy. And then it talks about the combat film. That's what they call it. Everybody else calls it a war film, but it is the combat film. And then they go to everybody's favorite, the film noir, and the shadowy images and the femme fatales and so forth. And then it moves and entirely changes subjects, and it moves into an age, a very unique period in film history. It is my period, is what I study most, what all my research has been in, and that is film in the television age, or roughly film, post-war film up until about 1965. So film in the television age. And then it moves to the film school generation. This would be in the late 1960s and the 1970s, when you actually went to school to learn how to make films. Excuse me there as I take a little water. What that means, of course, is they had film schools. And what you do is you enroll in the college and you learn how to make films. Previous to this, most of all the filmmakers came from all kinds of walks of life. Some of them just walked into a studio and started making films, and that was it. Others came from journalism. Others came from art. They came from all kinds of professions to get into making motion pictures. Recently, of course, as all of you know, you can go to college and you learn, you study the great filmmakers, and then you begin to say, this is what I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to make films. And then finally, to the edge of Hollywood. Now, the edge of Hollywood is interesting because, like I say, it's about 15 years old. And what they're talking about here is the kind of a radical change that is going on, because a movie just isn't a movie anymore. A movie involves various other things. I mean, when we talk about marketing, when we talk about that sort of thing, you know, you just don't make a film, an escapist film, without having some kind of exciting chase scene sequence in it. Something that involves a lot of action, because you can take that little piece of that movie and convert that into a video game. You also have to have lots of music that you can sell as a soundtrack album. You also have the entire story becomes a novel and is written as a book form and is sold as a paperback, you know, this sort of thing. So the edge of Hollywood, how Hollywood pushes into other media, and that's what it's called now pretty much. It's not the film industry so much as the media industry. Okay, there are the two emails. Either one of those or both. If you need to get in touch with me, use the email. And as I said earlier, I check those throughout the day, and I will get back to you as quickly as I can. Okay, also you are responsible for your examination, so please check the testing center for its hours of operations, because you don't want to, like I said before, you don't want to go over there and you only have 5 minutes to take the exam. And there will be no makeup examination, so make sure you have a week to get it done. So make sure and get in there at that time. And that pretty much is the end of our orientation session. I think you're going to enjoy this film series. And so that's about all. And we'll see you at the movies, I guess. Or at least we'll see you in office hours. Bye.